What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Broken Garage, where every broken car is an adventure. Today is a little bit impromptu. Kind of had something set up for this weekend, which I'm currently outside cleaning, actually. Might as well just show it off because you guys are going to see it sooner rather than later. Boom! I was actually able to get an STI bumper for the Subaru. So, yeah. So that was going to be the video for this weekend. It's a little beat up. Got it for a very good price, but you can see it's obviously missing the center grille, which doesn't really bother me that much. Obviously, it was originally set up for a turbo, which we're not running turbo. We're going to be stock with this thing all the way, just because. But I got it for a good deal. The original sellers who was going to sell me a bumper flaked on me time after time, so I had to travel 3 hours to go pick this one up, but the guy was very nice. He was very on time, professional, a lot of stuff, so that was fun. Fun drive, honestly. I got to take the car out for a good long drive and just enjoy it. But the reason why I'm recording impromptu today is because I have a buddy who's coming by soon, and he just picked up a new car, or used car, new to him, used car. 2003 Mitsubishi Galant. Has a little bit of overheating issues, but it is in beautiful condition. Looks fine, runs fine, except for the overheating issue, which we're gonna try and help him kind of tackle before he goes back to Fresno, because that's about an hour and a half away. Obviously don't want the car overheating on the way back. So he's gonna bring it over. We're gonna flush the system out. We're gonna put a new thermostat in, put new coolant in, and we're just gonna try and see what we can figure out for, why it's overheating. We don't think it's a blown head gasket, only because there's no white smoke coming out of the exhaust on the Galant, and the oil cap wasn't milky. Hell, even the oil dipstick wasn't milky. So I don't believe it's a head gasket issue at this point, but could be wrong. It could be an oil gas. It could be a head pan gasket. Could be something simple. So we're gonna flush the system. We're gonna try and force any gunk whenever he gets here out of his car. Try and fix it up. Try and get it going for him. Try and see if we can just clean it up and get it going. Because, hey, everybody has to have a project car, but you know what? You'd like to be able to make it home in your project cars. Just like how this thing made it home. But then again, we had a trailer. But this thing runs. Even if we didn't have a trailer, this thing runs perfectly fine. So, actually, one thing I did find out, in the video where I did the valve cover gasket on this car, I was telling you I was chasing an oil leak. Maybe I was telling you, maybe I didn't tell you. I don't remember, honestly, that was weeks ago. But anyways, this thing still has a slight oil leak that I think I might have tracked down, and you guys are gonna laugh at me, because remember in that video when I showed that I have, where is it? It's somewhere in the back right there. I don't know, I can just open the car. But remember when I showed you I bought the oil pan gasket, and I said, nah, we don't need to replace the oil pan gasket just yet because that's not what's leaking oil? Well, when I got into the car yesterday, guess where I saw oil coming out from? The oil pan gasket. Who would have thunk it, right? The one part I bought and didn't want to install because I didn't want to jack up the engine is where my oil is potentially leaking from. So that's kind of funny. So that might be something we'll do soon. I don't know if we'll record it, but yeah. So we're going to have to tackle that at some point. But tomorrow or this weekend, we're going to be putting that on, hopefully, because I know that some people online say that I believe this is off of 98 or 97. It's the facelift version. Some people say they bolt right on. Some people say you have to modify the little bumper support thing before it bolts on. So we are going to find out. And funny update. So I contacted my local glass place to see how much it would cost for just this glass. They can't get it at all. They cannot get this rear glass. So I got to get this glass myself. And they said they'll charge me $180 to install the glass. To install it for me. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a ripoff. 180 bucks, and I have to find the glass myself. So we might try, if we do find the glass, we might try to install it ourselves. I don't know how well it's going to work, but you know what? Adventure. So you might notice that this is a different day from last clip that we just did because things changed last night. My friend dropped off his Mitsubishi Galant, and what turned out to be maybe a simple flushing system turned out to be not so simple. As you can see right here, really nice, straight 2003 Mitsubishi Galant. Really nice looking car, really good condition. It runs, it drives, it overheats. And last night we were trying to figure out where it was losing coolant or where things were happening for it to overheat. So we realized by testing things out that it may not be a head gasket. We checked the oil cap, no milkiness. Checked the oil dipstick and no milkiness. It was all good, oil looking good. And so I was kind of confused. And then I noticed the reservoir was holding up water, coolant, whatever, but the actual radiator itself was empty. So started pulling stuff in there. He told me on the drive here that it was shooting water out the back. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Maybe there's a hose back there. Maybe there's something there that is loose. So we put water in the radiator, and we noticed that in here in the back, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but back there underneath the intake, underneath this whole intake right here, it is leaking water. And now I couldn't find out the exact reasoning online, but some people were saying that it's probably an O-ring or a one of those tightening, fitting rings to a hose line or something like that. So that's going to be today's fun project. We are going to literally completely take off this intake. We were messing around with it last night a little bit. Got dark, and I don't really like doing that kind of work in the dark. So I said, yo, I know you don't want to, but leave the car here. I'll get the intake off, and I will figure out where the leak's coming from. Send you pictures, send you, if I find the part or whatever, send you the pictures of the part so you can, like, you know, get what you need to get so we can get it going. So my GoPro is currently charging right now, so I apologize for that. We might not get a lot of B-roll footage. This was not really expected. I was planning to work on the Subaru today, like usual, but that kind of takes priority because obviously we want to get his car going. It runs, it drives. We just want to try and fix this overheating issue, which seems to be caused by leaking coolant. So we're going to try and address that. All right, again, guys, sorry the GoPro is not charged, but we have made progress. I don't know if you guys can see down there, but that's a leaking. So I figured out where the leak from this Mitsubishi is coming from. One, this hose right here, it's got a clamp on it, but that's clamped not where it needs to be. Like, I can put like a whole nother 1.5 inches in there and feel the actual nozzle and everything. It's not clamped where it should be clamped. So that needs a new clamp. I don't really like these old pinch style ones. I like the, you know, ratchet style ones. And this right here, you can tell, where was it? Right there. Had like a hole in the side of it. And so when I went to go try and remove it, guess what? Like nothing, like it didn't even fight me. It just ripped like nothing. So if everything is good, I'm hoping those are our only spots where, you know, we have a leak. And that would line up with what we were seeing last night. You see how the bottom of the transmission bracket and the subframe is all wet. That's kind of what we were seeing. We were putting coolant in it last night and would all drain out back here. And we couldn't see because it was pitch black and I didn't have my proper lights on me, but we couldn't see it properly. But now that I'm under here, like, yeah, that hose was ripped and now it's just gone. And this one's not clamped properly. So this one explains why this was leaking under pressure, because that's not properly clamped. So we're gonna check around my toolboxes and whatnot, see what we can find, because I might have some leftover clamps from an old project. Trying not to spend money on this because I just really don't have the money to spend. But I don't know. I always used to buy those clamps in bulk because, you know, when you own a Honda, you own other freaking cars, like, you're bound to use them eventually. But unfortunately, for me, what is that? That was a half inch. I'm pretty sure I've honestly used almost every single one I've ever purchased. Yeah, see, there's one right there, but that's obviously the wrong size. As you can see, we got the hose line we need, guys, as well as the clamps. So one thing that I found funny that I did not really pay attention to or point out in the last clip was that the line that was on here wasn't even radiator hose line. It was power steering line. So I don't know if that's why it burst or why it eventually, you know, failed, but you got to use the right lines, guys. You can't just be using whatever you have lying around. Sometimes you got to understand that these different hoses are rated for different settings for a reason, whether it's pressure, whether it's material, because you don't want to be using the wrong hose for the wrong lines, mainly because they're treated for different reasons. Like one thing's treated for oil because it relies on oil. One thing like power steering fluid can eat through other material lines. Like you just got to make sure you get the right hose for the right job. Because if you don't, honestly, you're just cruising for hurt in the long run. Like, yeah, it will work for the time being, but eventually it's gonna fail. That's just is what it is. It's going to fail. Now, don't quote me on this, guys, but I think we may have fixed the issue, at least for the leaking time. So, what you guys can see here, there's no major giant leaks or nothing like that. You see a little dripping right here, but that's just because it's coming out of where I have the screwdriver shoved into the hose. But that's not our major, that's not anything. But yeah, so I think we might have fixed the issue, because if you're noticing, a radiator is holding coolant, or water as it is. But pop that on there. Boom. She's holding. So I think we might have fixed the issue. Again, like I said, it's leaking a little bit right here from that hose. That's just because that's a square screwdriver and obviously not round, so it's not going to seal perfect. But I think we have done it. So I'm hoping. Like this hose, I don't know, still worries me. See, because I can still get water from it. I don't know. Like it's so up in there, I can't even get the stupid thing off. Like I want to mess with it still, because yeah, no, yeah, look at that. If I wiggle it, look at that. Yeah. No, never mind. False alarm, guys. We are not done yet. I need to get this hose off. I think this hose is our #1 priority. I don't even think that it's ripped. I can't feel any tears on it. But what I do know is that it's not clamped. But I can feel, it's impossible to show you guys, but I can feel like the little nipple. It feels like it might have broken off at some point, because it feels so very small. But like, yeah, you see all that water coming out when I just yank on it. But I can't get it off, so we're gonna try and figure that out. Got the GoPro set up, but we're almost there. Almost there. Okay, guys, so I know the GoPro isn't exactly picking up the best angle. I apologize for that. I still waiting for my magnetic mount so I can just hook it up to the top of, like, you know, hoods and all that. But hey, so we're making progress. So I found out that this little dispenser thing here, basically the coolant goes in here and it goes in the throttle body, goes to different places. It basically just tells different areas where coolant gets to go. So the hose that was on here, I don't know if you guys remember the previous footage, when I was pushing on it, like tons of fluid was coming out. Well, it was cracked. And funny enough, I don't know where they put it, but remember how I was saying to use the right size ratchets and all that, right size parts and all that? So what they did is they had an oversized one like I did, and they just squeezed it down to the right size, when eventually it just, look at that, it just ripped and tore into this thing. So use the right size, guys. If you know you have 3/8 hose, just go get a 3/8 cable or 3/8 clamp like those. Like, they're not expensive. You can get like 4 of them for like literally $4, or if you get lucky like Rock Auto, or sometimes stores have overstock of old stock, you can get them for like a couple cents each. Or go to the Junkyard. You can get, like, literally walk out with a pocket full of them for a couple bucks. So yeah, so we're gonna get right back to installing it. The GoPro's low on battery, so we might not see the install. So But yeah, we are making progress, and I'm so far happy. So here we are with an update. It's been a battle, that's for sure. This car is not exactly the most convenient to get into, to working on in the engine bay. But as you can see down there, she is nice and dry. As you can see up here, she's nice and dry. We replaced every single coolant line, like every single one, with a brand new line, except for this one right here, because that is a specific special line that's custom kinked and all that. And you don't want to kink your lines. Remember, you do not want to kink these things. If you kink it, that interrupts flow, and that's not good. But as you can see, the coolant, or water, is flush to the top. It's not leaking out anymore. So we took care of all the ripped and old lines in this car. So now really what there is left to do is I got to button it all up, put the battery back in, put everything back in, fire her up, see if she has any pressurized leaks. That's what I don't want. I'm hoping it's done. I'm hoping there's no pressurized leaks in there. So yeah. You might be noticing too, it's missing a couple parts here, like obviously the heat shield and whatnot. And I think the catalytic converter is cracked on the bottom. That could be welded, fixed so easily. That's not a problem. The car doesn't really have a big exhaust leak. It's not really like super loud or anything like that. It's actually pretty nice. But so yeah, I'm gonna button it all up, guys. I'm gonna put the air box back on, put the battery back on, and I'm gonna fire it up. I'll bring you guys up for the firing up test session, and we'll let it idle. Hopefully, fingers crossed, lines are done, and we can call it a day and maybe get back to working on the Subaru. But I don't think I have the energy anymore, guys, to work on the Subaru today. I'm going to be 100% honest. I know you guys look forward to the Subaru content, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm hungry. Maybe we'll work on it on the evening, but I just don't see myself working on it today. And like I said, if I can get that wing this week, might as well wait and just make my friend happy, get his car going, and I'll be happy with his car's going and whatnot, because he deserves it. He needs a nice, good, daily running car, and this honestly was just an absolute bargain. If this is all that it is, this was an absolute bargain, and I will get into that. At the end of the video, if it all is done, I'll get into the whole process of this car. So all right, guys, so we got it buttoned all up. It's all connected again. The only thing we have not done is put down the battery tie strap, only because we're not going anywhere yet. I got to check the coolant level. It's still nice and topped off. It is still fresh and dry down there, if you guys can see. So I can't remember if this battery was dead or if it still had some life to it. We got lights on the dash, so that's usually a good sign. So, oh God, I forgot how y'all short people live. He's got, how do I adjust the steering wheel? There we go. It's like digging into my thigh. So let's see what she does. Fires up, because again, the battery's kind of old. So yeah. So what you guys are hearing obviously is a squeaking belt. That's fine. And we got a brake on the actual catalytic converter itself. So that's what you're hearing. That's what that clanking sound is. The squeaking goes away after a while. Once the car idles to proper temperature, that clanking actually goes away as well. But you can hear the exhaust leak. But that's not what we're here for. We're not taking care of that. We are here to check in the back. And she's still looking beautiful and dry back there right now, guys. So far, so good. Fingers still crossed, no leaks. Obviously, we lose a little bit of coolant in the radiator system, not a whole lot, just because it's got to go through the actual system and all that. And if you guys are cringing right now because I'm just using water, that's fine, because we're going to flush the whole system eventually and put proper coolant in it. But we're just going to keep topping it off until the radiator system itself normalizes. It gets to idle temperatures and all that. Like you can see in here, the overflow is actually way full. So we should drain that. But again, we will focus on that when it comes time to actually, you know, flushing the whole system. But for now, our main goal is to make sure that the car is not overheating anymore. And again, I'm just topping off the coolant every now and then, because like I said, it's flushing into the engine bay. It's flushing through all the pipes that I drained it out of, that it's got to do its thing. But we look back here, and boom, guys, look at that. It's dry and beautiful. So far, so good. So far, we're on the right path. And honestly, that is always the most rewarding thing. Whenever you're doing car work, that is always the most rewarding thing. So let's get back in here. Let's check the temperatures. We're nowhere near idling temperatures yet. Maybe, maybe not. Now you can see right there, she's a little bit a quarter way and whatnot. She got a quarter tank of gas, quarter tank of heat. 175,000 miles on this car. Not too bad for a 2003. Like we rev it up and you see the temperature start to climb. And that's fine. You don't mind seeing the temperatures climb. On these cars, obviously, you'd never want to go past the halfway mark on the temperature gauge. So far, we are still in operating parameters. I think when the car was running and overheating, thankfully, the former owner, as well as my friend, would pull off to the side of the road, let it cool down. Didn't let it get horribly bad or anything like that. So they avoided any head gasket issues, it seems like. And still, we are dry in the back. Yeah. Still looking pretty good, pretty decent. See what our temps are at now. Yeah, they're under half still. So that's still a good sign. That's a very good sign. But I think that might be a success, guys. Again, I don't want to jinx things. Temperature's still sitting higher than I'd like, really. Then again, on most cars I own, it sits under like a quarter of heat. Except for my Fusion. My Fusion does sit kind of like underneath the halfway mark. So, again, with coolant, that'll lower. Let's take it around the block, actually, see what she does. Again, we're not going to go getting on it too hard or nothing like that because the battery tie down's not on it. So I don't want the battery flying and hitting something. But it's better to drive a vehicle to see what the temps do rather than just sitting there. So far, so good, though. So we're just gonna go around the block. We're not really gonna be going too far. So it runs, it drives. He's definitely got some work he's got to do to it. Hey, check out that nice ass Honda. That's sick. All right, we're back from our little drive around the block. And honestly, guys, its temperature, it got up to about the halfway point. Like literally, it's literally just got to the halfway mark. It didn't get any higher. So I think so far, that's a win. Now, you can tell the car's running a little rough. At least I can, sitting in it. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Obviously, it's got the exhaust leak and whatnot. But the car itself, it runs, drives, and right now, it's no longer overheating. Based on our results, yeah, look at that. Needle hasn't even moved. So, I think we're good, guys. I actually think we're good. we're still idling like just under halfway, and it's drivable. It's not overheating. It's running perfectly fine right now for the most part. Like, when I say perfectly fine, I mean given the fact that you ignore the exhaust leak and a little bit of rough idle, which honestly could be the cause of, like I said, it just needed a tune-up. But for 700 bucks, guys, I think it's a good find. Like, honestly, when I went to go check out the car for him, I told the dude, if I had 700 bucks, honestly, I probably would have swiped this car from my friend, because I'm not a big fan of Galants. I'm going to be 100% real with you guys. I didn't realize it was on Zoom, but look at that. Here's a clean car. Like, there's not very many dings or dents to it. It apparently had like a Fast and Furious wing at one point, because you see little holes for it. It came with decent rims. Like, the rear, I'm sure it's the shocks, but the rear is far lower than the front, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, I dig it. I like it. For 700 bucks, he could have definitely done worse. And again, we checking on that. Boom, look at that. Still staying under halfway. It's been idling for a while. I think we're golden. So yeah, that's the story of my friend's new 2003, new to him, 2003 Mitsubishi Galant. Honestly, I kind of liked working on this because it kind of gave me flashbacks of working on the Lancer. I know you guys, it was way before your time, before I ever made this channel. You guys never got to see my Lancer build, where it was literally taking a 2003, ironically, or was it an 02? No, I think it was an 03. Lancer ES model, basic as hell. And what we did do is I fully, literally turned that thing into an Evo. And I don't mean just like, oh yeah, I put Evo. No, I got Brembos for it. I got the Evo wheels for it. I had replaced the Evo fenders, the Evo hood. I had even bought some guy who had just a rolling shell. I had paid him for the quarter panels off of his Evo rolling shell. I had those welded in place. I had the Evo doors. The only thing I didn't get to do to that car before it blew up was I wanted to do an engine swap. And at the time, it was one of my daily drivers. So when it's, no, actually the engine didn't even blow. It was the transmission. So when its transmission went, I was just kind of like stuck behind, between a rock and a hard place, where I needed a vehicle for my daily driver. So I had sold it, and I had acquired my EG6. Yeah, I had sold it to acquire my EG6 and my EK9. It paid for both of those because good parts. Like, someone else took up the mantle. They wanted to finish the Evo build. They loved the body that I did to it. It looked like an Evo on the outside, wide body and everything, but it just didn't have the engine. So he probably took out the engine, swapped the transmission. I don't know what he did with it. I haven't heard from that guy. That was a couple years ago. But I digress. We're getting off topic. But yeah, so car's running rough, as you can see. I definitely think it needs a little bit of a tune-up, but yeah. So just let there be a lesson for you out there, guys. If you see a car that's like, you know, $1,000, looks like a project, but you know what you're doing, or you have buddies you know what you're doing, take the chance. You never know. Because now that this car, once we tune it up and get it running properly, it's like a $2,000, $3,000 car right here that he got for 700 bucks and literally almost nothing in terms of maintenance. So I'm gonna call that for today, guys. Remember, thank you for watching. Like, favorite, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Share it out to your friends. Share it to your friends, share it to your family, share it to whoever you want, and post it wherever you want. Remember that every broken car is an adventure, and as long as you love adventures and you love messing with cars, you're gonna have the time of your life. So until next time, guys.